Recently, I noticed that the amount of anime I watch has been slowly dwindling down, and a lot of it has to do with all the reading I've been doing lately. So, feeling nostalgic for those days where I could finish a show in a single day, I decided to change things up and went to you all for some anime recommendations. Not only as a chance to dive back into the rabbit hole, but also to revisit some older series I'd missed out on over the years. As expected, some of your recommendations were great, some of them were not so great, and some of them were absolutely phenomenal. But what I never expected was that while making this video, some of these anime would completely change everything for me. And to explain exactly why that is, we first need to take a little trip to a place called Brazil. When I think of anime you could casually mention in the mid to late 2010s without getting shoved into a locker too hard, shows like Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, and Attack on Titan come to mind. I'm honestly shocked that Michiko and Hatchin doesn't just fail to make that list, but like barely anyone at all has seen it. If you can get over the classic anime trope of guns not shooting straight, like when this priest misses point blank with a shotgun, the show absolutely bangs. Made during a time where dubs weren't afraid to get a little crass.
Or do you want me to blow a hole in them tig old bitties?
You got any idea who you're talking to, little shit?
And racist.
It because Lam Yin Kitchen Master. Now please get hell out.
Michiko in Hatchin is infused with this raw energy that makes every scene feel alive. At its core, the show follows an escaped convict, Michiko, and an orphan, Hatchin, as they chase down the ghosts of the same man, Michiko's ex-lover and Hatchin's deadbeat father, all the while getting entangled with cops, gangs, and hitmen. Beyond its stellar character designs, respect the Brazilian culture, and a wardrobe that changes every episode, the real beauty of the show lies in the relationship that forms between Michiko and Hatchin. Because truthfully, Michiko has no business playing the role of a mother. Besides being the ex-lover of Hatchin's father, she has no real tie to the kid. She's also a criminal, hot-headed, and completely loses all sense of reason whenever a scrawny white boy enters the picture. In many ways, Hatchin, a literal 9-year-old, is more mature than her, but Hatchin's also an orphan who was forced to grow up too fast, a discarded, unloved child who acts tough but desperately longs for a connection. And as messy as Michiko is, in her own way, she's trying her best to fill that role for her, though often failing extremely hard. But the thing is, it's really hard to know how to be that figure for someone when you yourself never had that person present in your life, when your own upbringing was just as broken. Through all the chaos, when you peer in, Michiko and Hatchin is a story about two broken people trying to piece each other back together. And in a very similar fashion to Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, by the end of it, you'll realize what matters most isn't the destination they set off on, but the journey itself. So put your feet up, crank up the volume, and vibe to the music as you watch Michiko kick some ass as she struggles to become a good parent. Our next recommendation is from KingBartholomew, who asked me to watch Lupin III, The Castle of Cagliostro. Going into this movie, there were only two things I knew about the Lupin franchise. It's based on a French novel series from the early 1900s, and Lupin very occasionally disguises himself as Hitler. Needless to say, I came out of this movie realizing one thing. I need to watch more damn Lupin. Maybe my enjoyment was heightened by the magic of Miyazaki. Yes, that Miyazaki, as this was his directional debut for an anime film and technically the only non-Ghibli film he's directed. But regardless of his influence, the movie was an absolute blast. Lupin has this perfect balance of over-the-top humor, serious undertones, and an underdog charm that makes it impossible not to root for him. There's this one scene where he's trying to scale a tower using a grappling hook, but he ends up slipping. And it should be GG's, yet instead he uses the momentum to leap across this giant gap like it's nothing. It's clumsy, chaotic, but completely Lupin. No matter how impossible the odds are or how he stumbles into its solution, he always manages to pull it off. And I think that's the biggest charm of the series. And while Lupin technically operates on the wrong side of the law as a thief, his actions always serve for the greater good. Judging from my experience, you don't need to start anywhere specific with Lupin. You can jump in at any season or movie and enjoy the ride. It's definitely what I'll be doing in the near future. Heavenly Delusions throws you straight into a decrepit, dying world. Ruined buildings, decomposed bodies, toilets with no toilet paper. Society has ceased to exist for a while now, and it probably has something to do with these creatures roaming around. Then the perspective shifts, and you're suddenly with these kids, locked away in a facility, completely sheltered off from the outside world, a world they don't even know exists. And I'm pretty sure babies are not supposed to look like that. Something is happening inside these walls, and it's never explicitly explained to you. Just like these kids who've never seen the light of day, you're left in the dark. But as the narrative escalates towards a bigger picture, and the two perspectives begin to collide, you'll start to piece together bits of information that slowly reveal just how hopeless everyone's situation really is. There's no verbal confirmation for these things, no red dot or arrow, and no dramatic explanations from any character, just carefully planted details that lead you towards certain conclusions. Conclusions that oftentimes break you, not just once, but over and over again. Each revelation forcing you to reframe what you thought you knew about this world and the people living in it. Heavenly Delusions does all of this, all the while looking absolutely stunning. The concept of a still frame doesn't seem to exist in the show. Even when there should be one, and deservedly so, there'll be an idiot dancing in the background, because that's just the level of detail the show operates at. And while the narrative slowly dances to its own tune, the show is never afraid to crank up the tempo when it needs to, especially in its action. Heavenly Delusion has no shortage of gorgeous action sequences. Every single scene is packed with fluid animation, dynamic angles, and what I love most of all, wit. I think the best example of what I mean is shown in episode 10, where the two main characters, Karuko and Maru, run into this creature. Slight spoilers ahead. In episode 10, the two are investigating a building that people have disappeared from without a trace, when all of a sudden, the temperature around them rapidly decreases. Sensing danger, Karuko looks around, spotting a bubble drifting towards Maru, and without hesitation shoves him out of the way. It saves him, but renders her practically immobile, so it's up to Maru to find where the creature is. But he can't, and time is running out for the both of them, so he takes a gamble and yells to shoot above. If that information was given a split second later, they would have assuredly died right then and there. But Maru's guess wasn't entirely luck. It was a gamble based on an instinct sharpened by the countless number of times he has escaped death. The actions of these two throughout the series are quick and resourceful, and they have to be, because if you can't keep up, you won't last long in this world. That's why Kiriko, given the information from the first encounter with the creature that the closer to the bubble, the colder it is when it activates, that it immediately freezes water, and that the creature is tracking them from above, is immediately able to form a plan to kill it. She takes a swig of water in her mouth, sprints upstairs, and then after locating the creature, moves towards it slowly, closing the distance between them. When it throws out a bubble, she spits out the water to tank the coldness and block the vision of the creature, tricking it into thinking she has already died. Then, before it can react, she quickly bursts through the ice and shoots it. It's examples like these that make the characters in Heavenly Delusion feel distinct. Without each other, the two would have died not just here, but in numerous other moments in the show, but they constantly make up for each other's flaws while moving forward with their own motives. Everyone in this world has their own way of surviving. At the end of the day, people act upon their own set of rules and beliefs, and that line between what makes a person good or bad can't be neatly decided by a single action, especially when there is no structure to uphold what is considered right or wrong. But what's so interesting to me is that the two we follow on the outside, two people born after the collapse, and two people who have only known a world with no laws, monsters, and an increasing amount of terrible people, still represent the best in humanity. Heavenly Delusion is an anime that I'll forever occasionally think about, for its lawless world, beautiful scenery, and themes I will save the talk about for another video. Our next recommendation is from Panda Pastries, who asked me to watch Beyond the Boundary. Kyoto Animation is by far my favorite anime studio, if it wasn't already obvious from my profile picture or the posters hanging in my room. Anything they seem to have a hand in is always layered with a level of authenticity and care. From their choice of music, to their breathtaking animation, to their unforgettable colors, every element always feels intentional. And Beyond the Boundary is no exception. I mean, they animated an entire idol dance sequence just for a single joke. joke. That's dedication. The show follows Akihito, a half-human, half-yomu. He's instantly equated with a transfer student named Mirai, who unfortunately wants to kill him. In this world, people called Spirit World warriors hunt and eliminate yomu to protect humanity. Basically, they live in a very, very toned-down version of Jujutsu Kaisen's world. Mirai comes from a bloodline that can manipulate their blood as a weapon, which is extremely powerful. So killing Akihito should be no problem, except for the fact that he can't die. And so they're stuck in this weird unending limbo, where Mirai has no choice but to just watch over Akihito in case he oversteps his line. And as they spend time together, as you can imagine, what starts out as a job slowly turns into something more emotional. And don't get me wrong, this show has plenty of hype moments, sad moments, and funny moments, but by the end of it, you'll probably be left wanting just a bit more. It's one of those shows where 12 episodes just isn't enough time to fully flesh out the world and its characters. Still, I enjoyed my time with it, and I think many of you watching this video would too. And no matter what I say, Fuyukai Desu will be living rent-free in my head for many, many months to come. You can shut up now. Our next anime is How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift, which was recommended by Mason. The creator of Kengan Ashura apparently got tired of watching men beat each other to death and decided to pivot to cute anime girls. This is mostly a comedy anime, and the jokes, while repetitive at times, are pretty good. If you throw on the show and don't think too hard about it, you're bound for a good time. And surprisingly, beneath all the gags and fan service, a lot of fan service, it offers some genuine solid surface level advice on working out. If the author's goal was to use anime girls as a gateway to get people in the gym, it's working, because since watching the show, I have started going to the gym again. If you have a friend or someone you want to start lifting and they like anime girls, no joke, make them watch this. It presents fitness in a super friendly and unintimidating way. And it's mostly thanks to one of the main characters being new to working out themselves. The structure and support she receives from the more experienced characters is extremely uplifting and, in my experience, very accurate to real life. In person, the gym community is filled with some of the kindest and most supportive people you'll meet. The show presents that you don't have to be a beast when you're starting out, and it will be slightly intimidating at first, but just by taking small steps, eventually you'll get to where you want. And as long as I hop on trend, soon I'll be able to recreate this scene with 99% accuracy. Our next recommendation is from iZxkry, who asked me to watch the Case Study of Vanitas. I think this show has awakened something in me, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. The Case Study of Vanitas follows a self-proclaimed doctor of vampires named Vanitas and a soft-hearted vampire named Noé. Together, they roam through 19th century Paris, trying to unveil the truth behind a mysterious affliction that's been corrupting vampires' true names and turning them into monsters. The character designs are incredible. Every single character looks like they rolled straight out of a fashion show. The dialogue is sharp and witty, and it makes sense when you realize it's directed by the same person who did Call of the Night and a majority of the Monogatari series. While most of the credit obviously goes to the original creators, Itamura understands how to capture the subtle character dynamics, the chemistry between them, and the precise pacing that makes it all come together. In particular, Vanitas and Noé have become one of my favorite recent duos in anime, although apologies in advance to all the Fujoshis out there, because while they often look and act the part, they aren't gay. At least, I'm 90% sure they aren't.
Can you please explain to me what love is?
Backed by Yuki Kaijira's score, the woman responsible for all the music in the Fate series, the atmosphere and emotions are constantly amplified. Vanitas knows how to crank up the tension when it needs to, and when it gets sad, it hurts. But even with some of its darker tones, it still manages to balance them with its comedy and banter. Add an animation by Studio Bones, with every scene dipped in warm candlelight, icy blues or glowing golds, and you've got yourself a show that not only moves well, but has a color palette and art style that perfectly matches its story. This is an absolutely phenomenal series that not only got me to watch both seasons, but immediately had me continuing with its manga, only to find out that there were only 10 more chapters of content. I have no doubt this will get a season 3, it is only a matter of when. Our next recommendation is Azumanga Daioh, which was recommended by Toruhiiyi. I'm proud to say that I'm probably like the 8th Azumanga Daioh fan in the world to ever have actually watched the show. For the most part, it felt like a fever dream. Seeing all the clips and memes in their natural habitat threw me in for a loop. Some clips that I thought were edited turned out not to be edited at all. Osaka is just that empty-headed. This anime ages like a fine wine. Despite coming out over 20 years ago, its humor somehow has only become more in tune with today's fast-paced meme culture. The show follows something I like to dub the Osaka effect, where if a meme exists, there's an Azumanga version of it as well. Seriously, search up any meme and add Azumanga after it. 9 out of 10 times, something will pop up. And when it's not invading some fandom, it's busy creating its own memes. Every 2 years or so, a clip or an audio from Azumanga goes straight mainstream. All I gotta say is that if you enjoy the clips you always get on your feed, please just hop off TikTok for a second and watch the show. It really is the same experience, just for 24 minutes 26 times, because I know that for every 10 Osaka profile pictures that exist out there, only 4 of them have actually watched the show. Mars Red opens with some gorgeous shots of a girl speaking in Shakespearean. Then you notice its black bars. The entire show is in cinematic anamorphic widescreen. It'll switch over to these beautiful pans of its world. Then the main character will enter an underground tunnel, the echoes of his footsteps and his voice bouncing off the walls. The show's attention to details pull you in. It sets you up for something different. And with the first episode ending the way it does, you're locked in, ready to experience the ride. It won't be for another 6 episodes before you see these Kaiman Dorihidoro knockoffs running around until you realize you've been scammed. You'll never be my goat. The problem I have with Mars Red is that it doesn't know what it wants to be. It fluctuates between being a poetic tragedy, elevated by its constant homage to theater, and a generic military plot about weaponizing vampires. If you're going to do tragedy, stick with it. If you're going to have Shakespearean dialogue, commit. Don't give me Invention McGee over here with his Diddler 200, and take yourself a little more seriously. Half the time the world seems like it's ending, and the other half, no one cares. To be fair, I'm being more critical than usual because the first couple episodes are done extremely well, which only made it more disappointing when I finished the show and felt like my time had been wasted. Our next recommendation is Kyousougiga, which is recommended by Dog Dong. This show is like if Fully Cooley, Studio Trigger, and Shaft had a child. The world of Kyousougiga is vibrant, it's colorful, imaginative, and completely unhinged. You've got these little guys walking around, trash flying through the air at times, a city that's impossible to leave or enter, Gundams controlled by PSPs, and residents that don't age and can't die. It's basically a dream world where anything can happen, and like other media with dream worlds, there's definitely nothing sinister lurking underneath all the weirdness. Nothing at all. Its plot revolves around Koto, an impulsive high school girl with a hammer that can smash through anything, who manages to break into this unreachable world on a quest to find her mother. Crazy stuff happens. You'll see people shooting guns at a crow, a monk flying around on a cloud, giant robots exploding, the fourth impact happening. Just kidding. Maybe not. Its music is ethereal. You're listening to one of these soundtracks right now, and I promise it won't be the last time you hear it in one of my videos. My only real complaint with Kyousougiga is that it's too short. With just 10 episodes, you'd think it wouldn't have enough time to figure out what it wants to be, and yet somehow it sticks the landing with a finale that embraces its chaotic and absurd nature while still delivering deep, heartfelt messages. It's not that the short runtime hurt the story's quality, it's just that I wanted a bit more time in this bizarre, beautiful world. There's a warmth to Kyousougiga beneath all its madness. It's not just weird for the sake of being weird. Love, grief, belonging, meaning, family, immortality, all of it is messy and surreal, and the show leans into that. Kyousougiga is criminally underrated. I mean, barely anyone has seen it. It's a show I highly recommend, and a show you can easily binge in a single sitting. And if you do check it out, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I would love to hear what you all think.
Oh, it's so nice outside today.
Blood Seed is a show about a high school girl living a peaceful, quiet life. Nothing ever goes wrong, and nothing bad ever happens. At least for the first 15 minutes of every episode. In the last 6, Saya has to brutally kill these horrific demon things running around the town. If I were to rate the plot of Blood Sea, it wouldn't go too well. Its charm lies in how bloody and chaotic it is. It has the same appeal as a B horror film. Aside from Saya, none of the characters matter, the setting does not matter, and the plot really does not matter. In almost every episode, there's a cut to this mysterious character from Saya's past, talking to her, but they don't even try to hide who he really is. The voice actor in silhouette is clearly the same as a person she frequently interacts with. So you wait patiently every episode trying to figure out his angle, but the angle isn't revealed until halfway through episode 11, the second to last episode. And I have experienced many plot twists before. This is the first time I have laughed out loud to one. Visually it's great, and I always like to see Clamp's art style, mostly because I'm kind of built like a Clamp character, but unless you're fiending for that B horror movie experience, or you plan on taking a shot every time someone dies, don't actually do this unless you want to spend time on a stretcher, you can skip out on this one. Mari Tamaki feels like she's wasting her youth. Despite her longing for something more in her mundane life, every day seems to blend into the next. And she's mostly the one at fault. Every time she attempts to change her routine, she always ends up backing out at the last possible minute. It's a part of herself that she's come to despise. So when an opportunity so absurd there'd be no turning back if she accepted it presents itself, she's finally able to take that leap of faith by going on a trip to fucking Antarctica. Place further than the universe was one of the biggest surprises on this list. At a first glance, it seems like your typical cute girls do cute things show. A group of 4 high schoolers decide to go to Antarctica on a whim, wholesome relaxing stuff endures, the end. And although many of those things do happen, very quickly did I realize that there is so much more to this show. When the group of girls arrive in Antarctica, after taking their first step onto the ice, one of the girls, Shirase, starts yelling out in pure excitement at all the people who mocked her and doubted her. And it's deserved. They just spent 9 episodes trying to get to this damn place. No one thought this expedition would actually happen, let alone that a group of high schoolers would be allowed to go. And for Shirase, it means everything. Antarctica had always been her dream, but when her mom went missing on a previous expedition 3 years ago, it became a necessity. And now, she had finally done it. She had traveled halfway across the world, all the way to the South Pole. And yet, when her initial adrenaline fades away, she just stands there, staring out at the horizon, and can't help but just think to herself, is this really it? The view hasn't changed. It's still as beautiful as her mother's descriptions, but the hole left in her chest remains empty. No penguin nor snowy horizon will bring her mother back. Getting to Antarctica was never going to magically fix anything. It's something she has to come to terms with herself. This type of disillusionment is present in each one of the girls. They all set out on this journey hoping to change, to escape their stagnant lives. And in many ways, they already accomplished that. But starting is only half the battle. The other half is a long, slow, meticulous commitment to making a difference in their life. A Place Further Than the Universe isn't really about Antarctica. I mean, by the time they get there, there are only 4 episodes left. Rather, it's a show about finding the courage to change, learning how to stay with it, and the beauty of sharing that difficult personal process with others. And its deeply human betrayal is what made this anime leave such a lasting impression on so many people, including me. Our next anime is Crayon Shin-chan, The Adult Empire Strikes Back, which was recommended by Muska. Crayon Shin-chan is a franchise I'd occasionally hear about. It's one of the longest running anime of all time. But aside from its art style looking like a kindergarten's drawing, I had no idea what it was actually about. Turns out, it's probably the closest thing Japan has to The Simpsons. It's a show both kids and adults can equally enjoy. As a kid, it's all funny faces and potty humor. And as an adult, it's still funny at times, but now you'll notice themes and messages that would have flown over your head when you were younger. In this movie's case, it's about nostalgia and how it can trap us longing for a past that never really existed. And it's great. I really enjoyed my time with it and thought the message it presented was thoughtful and relevant. The next recommendation is from Rohit, who asked me to watch Children of the Whales. I love the concept of living on a giant mud ship drifting across an endless sea of sand. A whole society functioning on a limited area of land, relying on self-preservation and the occasional salvage of resources from other drifting islands to survive is such an interesting concept. Its world building is fantastic, magic exists, but at a cost. Those who use it tend to have shorter lifespans. It creates a power system that's more of a burden than a gift. The show doesn't shy away from heavy themes. Very quickly it will throw death, war, grief, and emotions into the mix. I really like the soft painted color palette and the gentle, almost watercolor aesthetic. I think it matches the tone and the fantasy-like element of their world. The season ended on a solid note, and although I wanted to see more, it felt like the perfect place to stop before the bigger picture that is most likely tackled in its manga begins. And it wasn't until I was watching what was supposed to be the final cut of this video, checking for mistakes, when I realized I watched the wrong show. I was supposed to watch Children of the Sea, not Children of the Whales. I'll be right back. Visually, every single frame from this movie is beautiful. No one else is doing bread like this besides maybe Michiko. Pair that with Legend Joe Hirashi on the soundtrack and you've got yourself a mesmerizing 2 hours. However, narratively, there were many moments where I was a bit confused. I mean, at one point, it straight up turns into Evangelion, and if that doesn't get a couple of what the hellies, I don't know what will. Regardless of its narrative, I recommend it for the visuals and music alone because so many shots from this movie are truly stunning. Our next recommendation is from Nova, who asked me to watch Kiznaiver. Kiznaiver is quite 2010 coded. You got your tsundere, your better than thou genius, and of course, your pedophile teacher.
And illicit love affairs being the one thing that you better not have. But if you do have one, make sure you take a video and submit it.
It's about this group of students who are unwillingly thrown into an experiment where they share each other's pain, at first only physical and eventually emotional. It hosts good ideas about bonds, how humans crave connection, and what it means to be understood, vulnerable, and heal pain alongside others. At times, it really shines. There are genuine strokes of brilliance, especially in the arc involving this girl with glasses. But where it falls flat for me is how it sometimes approaches itself. Personally, I can't stand when a show feels scared to fully dive into the uncomfortable, strange, and the emotionally messy because it might alienate or confuse its audience. And I'm not trying to be pretentious. I couldn't accurately explain Lane or Evangelion to anyone for the life of me, but those shows fully committed to being themselves, and because of that, they're unforgettable. Kiznaiver often flirts with that commitment, only to then default to touching tits funny. And hey, it worked. Kiznaiver was and is still extremely popular, and most of these shows that I'm about to mention, a majority of you have definitely never heard of. But when shows embrace their identity, no matter how weird or niche they are, that's how you get people to make it their decade-long hyperfixation. Shows like the Tatami Galaxy, Penguin Drum, Haibane Renmai, Texno Lies, Land of the Illustrious, shows like Sonny Boy. Sonny Boy is weird. Its story follows a class of students whose school has suddenly drifted off into this strange black void, with many of the students gaining powers like being able to bend space and time, hearing the voice of God, or having Amazon Prime. It's incredibly ambitious in its storytelling, its psychedelic-inducing visuals, and unconventional framing. Its soundtrack features only 20 songs, most of which play a single time. The show deliberately chooses silence, letting the dialogue and ambient noise carry all the weight instead. When music does play, it strikes with emotional clarity. Because of all this, for every 100 people who think Sonny Boy is the greatest thing ever made, there are 100 people who think it's the most pretentious thing ever made. And honestly, I get both sides. If you ask me to explain exactly what Sonny Boy is, I can't. It's one of those shows where everyone who watches it walks away with something different. For some, it's disappointment. For others, indifference. But for a select few, it becomes something that they'll carry with them for the rest of their lives. And if you ask me to explain why it's like that for me, I won't be able to. At least, not yet. But if there is one thing I can say with complete confidence I got out of Sonny Boy, it's to take a step forward. After all, our lives are only just beginning.
It's not like people are worth anything just because they were born. That's why we have to find our own purpose. However long that takes. Sure, there's some value in the life we've been given, but if it came bundled with a purpose, we'd be letting someone else decide our fate. That'd be great.
At this point in the video, you might be asking yourself, How exactly did these anime change everything for you, Delusional? Truth is, 80% of this video was finished over 4 months ago. Then, one day, I just stopped working on it. Part of it was because I felt extremely drained from job hunting. At the time, I had already been searching for 3 months with little to no success. To anyone who's currently going through that right now, I know it's brutal, but hang in there. Eventually, it will all work out. But the other reason is a little different. When I started this channel, I didn't have some grand goal of being famous or making a ton of money. I had just binged Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and my reaction was that I needed to talk about it. There was no strategy, not a single thought beyond that I love the show. And for a while, my videos were exactly that. Filled with pieces of media I loved and pieces of media that I just wanted others to know existed. It went both ways. A lot of stories I love today, I only discovered because of your recommendations. But somewhere along the line, the way I consume media changed. Instead of consuming and having something to say, I started consuming looking for something to say. And maybe that distinction sounds meaningless, but to me, it's extremely important. I realized it while making this video, how sometimes it felt like I was grasping at straws just to make some mid-level, uninteresting take about a show I didn't feel much about, good or bad. And I hated that. Because the thing I've always loved and appreciated most about this niche is that no matter how dumb or weird or boring someone finds a piece of media, there will always be someone out there that treasures that very same piece of media for their own reasons. I've always found that inherently beautiful. These things aren't something made out of thin air. They're not some slop someone can create with a single click. It takes hundreds of people and hundreds of hours. And when I engage with those things with the mindset of trying to make content out of it, it defeats the entire reason why I started making videos in the first place. I remember when I did that first 50 manga recommendations video. I went into every single one of them excited. I didn't jot down any notes, I just read. Before I knew it, I had read all of them without writing a single line of the script. Looking back, it was the worst possible way to go about making the video, but content was never the focus. All I wanted was to experience all these stories that at least one person out there thought was good enough to recommend to some stranger on the internet. And so 4 months ago, I decided to take some time off, to rekindle my relationship with consuming media. And it turned out to be pretty liberating for me. My only regret is not communicating this, and for that, I'm sorry. Especially to those kind enough to support me on Patreon. I recently rewatched heavily Delusions and Sonny Boy, the 2 shows from this video that really have stuck with me throughout all these months. I'm not saying that there weren't others, there definitely was, but these 2 in particular I wanted to revisit without thinking about content at all. And it's funny that by doing that, I actually think I have a lot more to say about them now. Don't worry, not much is going to change with this channel. I only upload twice a year anyways. But in the future, I think I'm really going to try and focus on things that really get my gears going. Thanks for watching and listening to this dumb rant. Love you all, and until next time.